Follow along with the story in your own book, said Alana, opening her copy and starting to read aloud. Once upon a time there was a woman who longed for children but had none. At last she went to visit a fairy and said, Rachel and Kirsty were swept up in the story. Alana had a lovely reading voice, and the girls felt as if they could almost see tiny Thumbelina in her happy home, sleeping in her little walnut shell. One night when Thumbelina was asleep under her rose-petaled coat, a goblin crept in through the window. Alana read. The goblin thought that Thumbelina would make a pretty wife for him, so he scooped her up from her walnut shell bed and jumped out of the window into the garden. Kirsty and Rachel glanced at each other. That isn't how the story is supposed to go, Kirsty whispered. But that's what it says in the book, Rachel replied in a low voice. Look. Kirsty frowned and put up her hand. Alana stopped reading. Is everything all right? She asked in a kind voice. I'm sorry to interrupt, said Kirsty, but I think books have a mistake in them. Thumbelina is supposed to be carried away by a toad, not a goblin. Oh, said Alana, looking surprised. I'm certain that it's a goblin. After all, that's what the book says. All the other children in the circle shot puzzled glances at Kirsty. They obviously thought that she was wrong too. She's right, said Rachel in a loud voice, but the other children were shaking their heads and making shushing noises. Alana started reading the story again, and Kirsty looked at Rachel with a worried expression. Something's wrong, she whispered. I know this story very well, and there definitely aren't any goblins in it. Just then the empty cushion beside Rachel gave a little quiver. Kirsty and Rachel stared at it in astonishment. The other children were looking at Alana, so no one else noticed as the cushion hopped, shook, and jumped. Then, surrounded by a sprinkle of pale blue fairy dust, a beautiful fairy fluttered out from under the cushion. Hello, she said in an excited whisper. I am Elle the Thumbelina Fairy, and I have come to take you both to fairyland. Rachel and Kirsty were so surprised that they stared at Elle in silence for a moment. She was as tiny as Thumbelina herself, with long wavy hair and an exquisite pale blue dress. Her wings were light pink with curled tips, and her shoes were a delicate shade of lilac. Will you come? Elle asked. We need your help. Of course we will, said Rachel. But how can we leave now? We are surrounded by other children. Elle smiled. Stories make their own magic, she whispered. The others are too spellbound by the story to notice what's happening. She waved her wand, and there was a flurry of blue confetti and glittering thimbles. The girls closed their eyes as the magic swirled around, and when they opened them again they were standing in a vast library. They had been transformed into fairies, and their gossamer wings were fluttering on their backs. Welcome to Fairyland Library, said Elle, giving a delighted twirl. It's incredible, Rachel whispered. It's the kind of place I've dreamed about, said Kirsty. The high shelves were a treasure trove of beautiful books with spines in every color of the rainbow. The arched ceiling was made of glass, flooding the room with natural light. 3 deep, comfy chairs with plum cushions were arranged in a horseshoe shape, and 3 other fairies were curled up on them. I'd like to introduce you to the other storybook fairies, said Elle, leading Rachel and Kirsty forward. This is Rosalie and the Rapunzel Fairy, Ruth the Red Riding Hood Fairy, and Mariana the Goldilocks Fairy.